A summer ceasefire in the 30-year war between Ford and Holden is about to come to an end. The big guns are ready to fire in the opening round of the 1996 Shell Australian Touring Car Championship at Sydney's Eastern Creek Raceway. The nation's premier 10-top series moves into full battle mode with new cars, new faces and an exciting new race format. Boosting Ford's frontline troops is 1980 World Formula One champion Alan Jones, who launched his new Queensland-based Falcon team last Tuesday. In response to his 1000 winner, Larry Perkins has boosted Holden's strength, expanding to a two-car Castrol team with Bathurst co-driver Russell Engel. This year's ban on tobacco advertising also threatened to close down two of the country's top teams. But former champions Glenn Seaton and Mark Scaife have both returned for active duty, with leaner but no less meaner operations in 1996. Tonight's championship opener also sees some exciting new faces in the V8 ranks. Craig Lowndes, Paul Romano, Stephen Ellery and second-generation star Stephen Richards are just some of the new names keen to rattle touring cars' old guard in 1996. Tonight, for the first time in Shell Series history, the fire-breathing V8s do battle under lights on a specially shortened Eastern Creek layout designed for maximum action. The new L-shaped track cuts the total circuit length from 3.9 to just 2.8 kilometres. Also new for 96 is a reduction in practice time, a switch to 3 20-minute races and just 2 sets of tyres allowed for each car. The teams and drivers which can best adapt to these dramatic changes will tonight reap the reward. It's time. Can reigning champion John Bowe defend Ford's hard-won crown, or can Holden level the score in the V8 war? The battle lies ahead.
Hello and welcome to the Shell Series Touring Car Blast-Off for 96. It has been a blazing hot day here in Sydney's West and the V8 Brigade promise performance to match. In fact, the 95 Touring Car champion John Bowe, now carrying #1 saddlecloth for the Dick Johnson Shell FAI Falcon team, has topped the qualifying with a lap time of 61.32, ahead of Holden's Peter Brock and Glenn Seaton for Ford credit. In fact, Falcon and Commodore alternate through the top 10 positions on the grid. Well, the heat is going to play a factor here, there is no doubt about that. And with the new regulations, the new race format and the new tyre regulations in place, it's going to leave the teams with a lot of hard decisions to make. Let's find out what they're going to do as we join Mark Osler and Brad Jones.
Yes, indeed, Gary Wilkinson. There are a number of new changes to the 96 Championship, and coming aboard this year to try and help us explain it is an old pal of ours and an all-rounder in the touring cars, Brad Jones. Welcome aboard.
Thanks very much, Mark. Great to be here.
Now, what can we make of these new regulations? 8 tyres only per car, 3 20-minute races. What are the teams got to try and do?
Well, now we only have 2 choices of tyres for the 3 heats, so it's imperative to get it right. The last race is going to be critical, and that's where all the action will be.
There you go, expert comment from Brad Jones. And Bradley joined us earlier in the day for the Privateers Cup, which is held for the privateer teams. And indeed, it was a great start by Steve Reed, who got away very quickly. But Kevin Heffernan also made a great start, but managed to lose it on turn 2. It was also a good start by Richards and Finnegan, who had a terrific battle for 3rd and 4th position throughout the race. Richards, meanwhile, opened up a bit of a gap as he tried to track down Reed. But as we came toward the finish of the race, Richards got very close, but he just couldn't quite close the gap to Reed. So it was Reed who won the race ahead of Richards, and then a gap back to Crick and Terry Finnegan in 3rd and 4th position. Great race there from the Privateers. Well, there's a lot of established stars and a lot of new faces here in 1996. Here's Andy Raymond with one of the new guys.
Yeah, names like Brock, Johnson and Perkins have been around the game quite a while and are still at the top of their game. Many of them are getting a scare from the young guns, one of whom joining me now, Craig Lowndes, 4th fastest qualifier. Nice way to debut.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, it's a good way to start the season. Like, this is only 3 races of 30, so hopefully we can get through this weekend with the car that's still intact, and we can go on from there.
And qualifying and a bit of practice this morning, you were 2nd fastest. Do you enjoy the hot weather?
It's not too bad. It's the same for everybody. You know, I've done a bit of training over pre-season, so hopefully that'll come in my favour. But you know, the race is going to be tonight. We had a run last night, and the cars run a little bit nice, but tonight's a little bit crisp air. So no, we're looking for a good night.
We wish you all the best. Craig Lowndes, starting from position number 4. Let's have a look at the full grid.
Let's see how they line up. In round one, race one of the 1996 Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. There he is, the hot lap specialist, John Bowe on pole, 101.33, with Peter Brock alongside him, a Ford Holden front row. Row two, Glenn Seaton, the new Ford Credit Falcon, with Craig Lowndes, car 15, alongside him.
Row number 3 consists of Tony Longhurst and Wayne Gardner in the Coca-Cola Commodore. Row 4, Alan Jones and Neil Crompton.
Out of row 5 is Dick Johnson in the Shell Falcon, with Mark Scaife alongside him in the Gibson Motorsport Commodore. Row 6, Russell Ingall in the Castrol Commodore, with teammate Larry Perkins alongside him.
Row number 7, newcomer Stephen Richards in the Valvoline entry, and the top privateer, car number 3, Steve Reed. Row 8 is Stephen Ellery and Paul Romano.
Row 9 is the Sony Commodore of Terry Finnegan, with Greg Crick in the Alcare example alongside him. David Parsons in the Freightliner Holden, and Mark Larkham in the Mitre 10 Ford.
Row number 11, the Price-Act Commodore of Kevin Heffernan with Wayne Russell. Row 12, Bob Pearson and John Cotter.
Plenty of V8s here. Row 13, the back row, John Trimble in the Ostjet Aircraft Charter Falcon, with Gary Wilmington in the Wilmington Performance Ford. Well, the heat is on at Eastern Creek Raceway, and it's about to get an awful lot hotter when they unleash the V8s in just a few moments' time. Meanwhile, here's the Eastern Creek logo flying in on a giant flag up in the skies on this beautiful hot day in Sydney. Touchdown almost due for the flag, and we're almost due for blast-off in Heat 1. 5 seconds now till the start of Heat 1. It's going to be a critical run into Turn 1 here at Eastern Creek this afternoon. Revs rise. John Bowe and Peter Brock on the front row of the grid. Away they go. Brock gets a sensational start. The grandstand are on their feet. Brock gets a real run down the outside. A huge pack of V8 swinging into Turn 1, and it's Brock in control as they head down toward Turn 2, leaning on each other. Massive number of V8s here up toward Turn 2. Dust flying everywhere. It's Brock in command with the Coca-Cola Commodore in second. Bowe got shoved back to third there. Craig Lowndes is Brocky's teammate, 5th or 6th as they shuffle through Turn 2 and head up toward the flashback.
One of the Castrol Commodores, in fact, it was Larry Perkins, the Tooheys 1000 winner, and we've got a moment further back in the pack. Peter Brock leads. A fantastic start to Wayne Gardner as the Finnegan Sony audio sound car makes its way back onto the track.
So Peter Brock, tremendous start from the outside. They often say pole position at Eastern Creek is on that outside where the racing rubber's laid down. Brock certainly took advantage of it in 05. But he's got the Coke Commodore. Wayne Gardner right up behind him. A great start from the former world motorcycle champion. John Bowe back in 3rd position. There's Crompton in 4th. Another great start from the Coke car with Lowndes right up behind him. Very close, very torrid action here, Bradley Jones.
It is. There's plenty happening. I was talking to Brock earlier on today, and he's very determined to win the race. He's going all out. But he's got Gardner right on him. This will turn into be a tyre war of sorts, and the Dunlop's a performer very early on. It'll be interesting to see how the race goes on.
Well, certainly will, knowing the performance of the Bridgestones over the years. Of course, Brock running Bridgestone tyres, they take a while to come in, but boy, aren't they durable, particularly in hot weather conditions.
They are. 3 laps you usually have to do before you can get the speed out of them, where the Dunlop is there right from the start. It's interesting, even though these cars look the same, underneath they're just so different you couldn't believe.
So they come through the switchback there, wheel up in the air as Brock crests the rise. The car gets all light, bounces off the curb there, building up to about 190 kilometres an hour as they swing into Turn 5, or the new Turn 5 on this shortened circuit. Gardner in 2nd position, really pasting the back bumper of the mobile car. He's right on top of him. It'll be interesting to see if he can last for this first 20-lap heat.
Peter Brock won't want to leave it too long before the Bridgestone set in, because Gardner from position number 6 is up to 2 and is looking for a way past as they head down the main straightaway. Once again, the crowd going berserk. The favourite is out in front. Glenn Seaton has dropped well back in the field to about 7th after starting in 3rd, so a disappointing start for a new sponsor in the Seaton team.
Well, he's Mr. Popularity, Peter Brock. Most successful driver in Australian Touring Car Championship history. 35 victories from 189 starts. 50 years of age, and the man is still right on the pace.
Car number 1, John Bowe, has come from nowhere. He missed the start from pole position. Gardner got past, and all of a sudden, the number 1 Shell FAI Ford Falcon is back in the race.
We take race cam with Peter Brock aboard Mobile 05. Man hard at work, maximum concentration here, working at the wheel. Looks like a very physical sort of track, Brad Jones.
It certainly is, and you can notice just behind him there's a little esky. I'm not sure whether that's for a cool suit. I say it would. They fill it up full of ice water and actually runs through tubes. It just cools your body down. Larry Perkins was saying earlier it's like 55 degrees inside these cars today, so you certainly need something to keep you cool.
Okay, 3 laps down in this 20-lap battle. It's still Brock in control. Gardner in second. Bow starting to close the gap to the Coca-Cola Commodore in third position. And then we've got Craig Lowndes, the sensational qualifying about this last year. He's had a very controlled build-up to this race, and here he is in fourth position, looking good.
A three-way dance at the moment, but Lowndes is looking to party. He's moved right up on the back end of the FAI Falcon, down towards what is being termed the flip-flop, and Gardner a little off course there, and Bow right up on the backside. He knows every scratch on the back of the Coke Commodore.
Keeping in mind these really high temperatures, Bradley, is the idea here to try and conserve your tyres, or in 20 minutes you just haven't got time to do that?
Well, you really haven't got time. These guys will be, throwing caution to the wind. The idea at the start of the race is to try and save the tyres a little bit and drive the car as straight as you can. And of course, once the light turns green, you're just, fighting for survival. So they're all pressing on as hard as they can, and they won't think about their tyres until they get it to the end of the race.
Big roar from the crowd. Brock opens it up a couple more tenths. They come across the start-finish line. 4 laps down. He's just put in a 1:02.25. Fair way off the qualifying pace yesterday, but very quick considering these hot conditions. There's Glenn Seaton coming right into the action, right up behind Crompton. This is the battle for 5th and 6th.
A good battle it is at that, and Seaton again searching on the inside for some racing room. We're looking out of the Glenn Seaton car. That is Neil Crompton right ahead. 7 Sport Race Cam bringing in the action as they head down towards the flip-flop. There's the leading group up ahead. Very sharp left and right. That's where it just drops away, Brad Jones.
It does. It's a very tricky part of the circuit there. I'm just watching the back of Crompton's car. It looks to be working quite nicely. I mean, I thought the Coke team probably went for a bit of a safe option on tyres today, and that's why they qualified a little further back, but they're certainly up amongst it at the moment.
And we guess with only 8 tyres to chop and change between 3 heats, these guys may be looking much stronger as the day progresses.
Well, hopefully they will.
Here comes John Bow, meanwhile, sorry Bradley, but Bow down the inside of Wayne Gardner. They're side by side, 260k into turn 1, and Bow sneaks through.
Gardner will be looking to come back down the inside here.
So Gardner gets shuffled back. Very tidy move by Bow. Oh, Bow has quite an unusual line in there. He goes straight across the apex of the corner and almost turns on the spot.
He does, and you also notice that the Falcon of Bow's is smoking quite badly, and I'm not quite sure what that is. I mean, they're so precise with the amount of fuel these cars use nowadays that you wouldn't think that it'd have an overrun of fuel. Maybe there's something else.
5 laps down, quarter distance gone. I'll complete 6 as they come around this time. Look at Craig Lowndes, 21-year-old sensation, getting his big chance with the Holden Racing team this year. A lot of pressure on his shoulders.
There certainly is, and if you're involved in a battle with Wayne Gardner, you know you're going to have a fight on your hand.
Well, Craig, he's one of the young lions. He's been tagged a 1-lap specialist, people say. So he's got a lot of pressure to prove he's got the racecraft as well. Look how close he is behind Wayne Gardner's car. Pulls out of the draft, has a look down the inside, coming up to turn 1. Oh, you could have sliced a bit of cheese between those two.
Certainly playing for keeps, aren't they?
So Lowndes, a great move on Gardner there. Gardner shuffled back 2 positions in the space of 2 laps. So now it's Bridgestone shot car at the front. Dunlop car and another Bridgestone sandwich. We take Seaton's race cam, that battle we were looking at before for 5th and 6th. He's actually passed Neil Crompton while all action was going on. So now it's Brock, Bow, Gardner in 3rd. Sorry, Gardner in 4th, Crompton in 6th, and Seaton moves up to 5th, so that's the top 5.
You saw Craig Lowndes there, the front 2 wheels airborne. This youngster's certainly on a mission as he hones in on the rear end of one John Bow, the defending series champion. There's Lowndes, you can see right ahead of him, John Bow, and off a little bit in the distance is Peter Brock. How dearly HRT would love a 1-2 to start 1996 with.
Well, you can see this striking new paint job, Andy. Over the off-season, they got a new driver, and they decided to freshen up the paint job as well. Quite a striking bit of paintwork there with the Holden Lion now on the front fender. But Brock showing a clean pair of heels too. He's opened it up 2.1 seconds now. The gap over John Bow in 2nd position, Lowndes in 3rd, Gardner in 4th, Seaton now up to 5th. and Crompton in 6th. And I guess we can expect Glenn Seaton to start making a few inroads too, Brad.
I think you can. You'll find that the 3 Bridgestone cars are probably all on exactly the same tyre compound. The case construction on the front of the Ford is slightly different, and obviously that's what you need at the moment. You watch Craig's car as opposed to John Bowers' car at the moment, and the Dunlop chute car is just moving around. I know that the Dunlop runners have sort of gone for a very marginal tyre compound mix, and you know, hopefully it's going to be right.
Could pay the price later on in the evening. It's interesting looking at these times too. Both Gardner and Crompton slipping up into the 63, 64 second bracket with everyone else running in the 2s. Those tyres could be giving them trouble already. So 8 laps down as they cross the start-finish line this time around. Bauer coming under pressure from Craig Lowndes. He's really making up some territory on the reigning champ. Brock still in control, 2.1 the gap that time around, so it hasn't grown. Wayne Gardner back in 4th, Seaton in 5th. It's close and tight stuff at the front here. Lowndes tries to find his way through.
You get the feeling Craig Lowndes has been eyeing off exactly what John Bowers has been doing in that sharp left-hand corner. And Lowndes just playing and experimenting. Not a good start to the year for Mark Larkham in the Mitre 10 car. Do they sell barbecues at Mitre 10? Because we've got one under the Larkham car.
Well, he may well have run over a curb there. All that smoke coming out in the missing front spoiler section, Brad, he may have run over one of these shark teeth curbs.
I'd say probably dumped a little bit of oil on the circuit and has just slidden off across a curb or over something and damaged the front of the car. It's a pity. They put a lot of work into the Mitre 10 car, hoping for a much improved year this year, and it's not the way they wanted to start, I'm sure.
Craig Lowndes currently the fastest man on the circuit. He's just done a 62 dead. As he looks down the outside of Bauer, this time Bauer moves across to cover his territory. He's a good defensive driver, isn't he?
Well, I'd say Craig is just learning why John Bauer is the current champion and how hard he is to pass. JB is known as the hardest bloke in the business to get around, and Craig's probably just experiencing that firsthand.
And with Brock, Brock.
That's Brock's come off at turn 2. We didn't. Goodness me, a big cloud of dust. Brock seemed to be running on his own. There may have been a lap car involved there, Brad, but it doesn't look like it.
I was just about to say, Brock, you know, looked to have everything so well under control. He was having a glance once or twice a lap, so he had a nice buffer. But he's obviously just gone in just a little bit too deep there. It's a very tricky corner, and off he's gone.
Peter Brock back to 5th as we have a look exactly what happened. And it even happens to the master on occasions.
Could he even locked a brake or got off on the marbles there a bit?
Without going through the whole thing again, it looks like he's come in there, locked the front brake a little bit, and he's just had to get off it, and it's spun.
Okay, here's his teammate, Craig Lowndes. The grandstand get to their feet. As Lowndes now hones in on 2nd position, he's got the leader in his sights, right up behind the Shell number 1.
Fastest man on the track is up into 4th. The name Seaton in the Ford is closed right in on Wayne Gardner. So 2 fantastic battles again. 2 completely different cornering strategies.
Fabulous run from Craig Lowndes. Indeed, Andy. His opening round of the Touring Car Championship.
Johnson into the pits.
Oh, wretched luck for Dick Johnson. Not a good start to the season.
Straight into the garage, not a good sign.
So Lowndes all over the bumper of car 1. Now, Brad, I know how hot it is when you're running in behind another car in front. How would his temperatures be under control at the moment if he sits in behind that close?
But no, I think they'd be fine.
Okay, let's look at the way they're running at the moment. Bauer, of course, in control with Lowndes right behind him. Wayne Gardner back in 3rd position. Seaton moving up to 4th. And Peter Brock back in 5th position. We'll be back with you in just a moment. But coming under enormous pressure here from Craig Lowndes, and Seaton's getting a first-class view, Brad Jones.
He is, but I'll tell you, I think Glenn's got a little bit of a problem here. You notice he's ducking to the opposite side of the road as that Glenn is on going down the straight, so he could be having temperature problems, and that being the case, when he gets a little closer here, he's going to have to get past them quickly, or he could end up boiling his engine.
We'll talk about getting closer. Look how close he is onto the back of the Mobile Commodore.
We've seen that with Glenn Seaton, in fact, last year here, and at the Triple Challenge, as well as Bathurst. So maybe it's a regular occurrence on the Seaton car, but I can assure you of one thing, Glenn Seaton's not aiming to sit behind these 2 for very long.
Well, Glenn's been working very hard on his engine development over the break. He's confident he had that all cured and had a little bit more horsepower, but as Bradley Jones observed there, ducking out of the slipstream, maybe having some engine temperature problems, and it is incredibly hot here this afternoon.
This will also put a bit more pressure on Craig. He's not only got to try and find a way around John Bauer, he's got to stop Glenn Seaton from getting around him at the same time.
Glenn Seaton has constantly been in the 61-second category. They're heading down the main straightaway. Yet again, they go across the strike. It is Bow, Lowndes, Seaton.
There's Wayne Gardner. Yep.
The battle a little bit further back. There's Peter Brock, who was leading the race. Mark Scaife one behind him. Neil Crompton in the Coca-Cola Commodore. And Alan Jones, Pack Leader Racing, their touring car debut. 3 Castrol cars, the Longhurst, Ingle and Perkins entries.
Meanwhile, Glenn Seaton here giving Channel 7 viewers a perfect view of the action. Lowndes just moved over to cover his tracks a little bit there, and I believe the drivers too, Bradley, are a bit concerned about these tyres that are very close to the rubbing strips on the S's there.
They are a bit concerned. They're all chained together, so they're worried if they hit one, they'll drag them all along the road with them.
So it's certainly keeping them disciplined through that part of the circuit. They said it'd be single file through there, and it's certainly proved that way so far. Craig Lowndes, is he just sitting here behind John Bow ready to pounce?
I don't think so.
Does he have no answer?
And he's certainly having heating problems as well.
So look at that. Lowndes jumps out of the draft behind John Bow. He's running in nice fresh air. Lowndes tries to drop the temperatures down a little bit. Seaton right up behind the Mobile Commodore. 5 laps to go with 3/4 distance. Time running out for Craig Lowndes.
Time also running out for Glenn Seaton, and one guy who's made a miraculous recovery is Wayne Gardner. Seaton now looking right down the inside.
Hey, you know this little part of the circuit they're coming into now? You listen to Seaton's car? The engine revs die down there. What he's doing is he's short shifting the car. He's going from 2nd to 4th gear to try and keep the throttle on to get the power down to the ground so we can close in on Craig a little bit for this part of the circuit.
Glenn Seaton will want to be nice and gentle on the gears after last year, snapping a gear stick halfway through the 2nd heat.
He's always been very quick here, Andy. A tremendous success rate for Seaton. Here's Tony Longhurst living into the pitch. You can hear, I think it was the front spoiler scraping on the concrete. Yep. Damage to the front of the Castrol Falcon. Not a good start to season 96 for Tony. His brand new Castrol Racing Falcon EF. Wheels coming off. So there's some front end damage here possibly. Meanwhile, back at the front, John Bow still in control. 4 laps to go. Lowndes running out of options. The same too for Seaton. If you were running in 3rd position here, Bradley, where would you be looking to overtake? I guess this is the only opportunity down turn 2.
Almost anywhere, I'd say. It's a very difficult thing. Glenn's starting to get aggressive. I think he's going to hit that thing in a minute.
You think it might be a bit of a tap on?
I think that things are going to get a bit desperate. To top it off, you've got the Coca-Cola car closing in as well, so it's going to become a 4-way dice in a minute.
If any of these guys looked in the rear vision mirror, they'd be able to see the whites of the eyes and the driver right behind them. There is not much separating the leading 4 cars.
Tremendous racing here from the V8s. Keep in mind too, last year before Bathurst, they trimmed 200mm from the front spoiler under tray on the front of the Falcons, and they were confident that it had closed the parity gap. And certainly looking at this racing, this bumper to bumper run amongst the top 5 is just fantastic.
Gardner is the fastest car on the circuit at the moment, so he's certainly making inroads.
As you can see there on the back of race cam of Glenn Seaton's car, Gardner closing the gap, 3 laps to go. So, Bow in control. Lowndes still in 2nd. Looks like Seaton's powerless to do anything in 3rd. Gardner now coming back toward the last few laps of the race. 3 laps to go. Hard under brakes. Glenn Seaton has a look down the inside of Craig Lowndes' Commodore. Boy, he's getting close there, Brad.
Yep, he's touching him. And Bow's just showing us why he is the champion. I mean, controlling the race beautifully from the front. Hasn't put a foot wrong. Certainly isn't in the fastest car out there at the moment, but winning the race.
Well, he really is a guy at the height of his powers, isn't he? We saw this all through last year. Tremendous pressure driving when there's an enormous pressure to defend his lead. And he's done it immaculately. He's doing it here again this year. You're seeing a driver at the absolute peak of his career, John Bow.
And the parity between the cars is quite good. Forget for a second they're all on different tyres. We've got a Ford, Holden, and there's certainly nothing between the 4 of them.
Well, Holden guys trying to level up the score in the V8 war. 2 laps to go. It's currently running at 2-1 in Ford's favour. Big year for Holden. And big year for this man, Wayne Gardner. 2 years in the tough V8 circuit. They haven't won around yet, the Coca-Cola team, and they're very confident this year that they can change that and get up onto the podium. Let's hope so. Wayne Gardner in 4th position. Bow, Lowndes and Seaton ahead of him. Well, following each other around here, I think it's going to be a bit of a desperate or a bit of a tap if there's going to be any change of positions here, Brad.
Well, yes, I think you're right. It's certainly going to have to be a bit of push and shove, I think, to get by. The only passing move is at turn 2, and they just, they all run around the inside there, so they're going to have to duck and weave and maybe tickle one another up to get by.
Well, look at the amount of ground Gardner's made up on here. He dropped back into the 63 and a half second bracket. Oh, someone's got to wheel off in the dust. Desperate stuff there. but Gardner's come right back into the 62s. It's almost like he's resuscitated the tyres and come back into the battle.
Which is unusual. Dunlops aren't traditionally like that. But it's exactly what's happened. They've done a lot of work on the car over the summer, and it's working perfectly at the moment.
Last lap as we take race cam at the back of Glenn Seaton's Falcon. There's Wayne Gardner closing in. It's getting tight at the top. He's leading quartet. They've got Peter Brock back in 5th, Skaith in 6th. Then it's Crompton, Jones, Ingle and Perkins. That's the top 10. Less than 2.8 kilometres to go as they head down toward turn 2 for the final time. Gardner gets a little bit closer under brakes. You can hear Seaton working back through the gears, flame belching from the exhaust of the Coca-Cola Chevy. Very close here. But as you've seen on previous laps, Brad, it really is going to take someone else to make a mistake.
Well, it definitely is. I don't think John Boyle has too much to worry about from here on in. He just keep his nose clean at the front and pick up the first race.
And the big question then will be, you can win one heat, then you've got another 2 to go a bit later in the day, and of course later on this evening. And tyres are going to be critical in that final race. Look at Lowndes. He's not giving up without a fight. Ducks out from behind the Shell 1 Falcon. But there's not a lot he can do. Bow, masterful display here of defensive driving. Covering all the track that Lowndes needs to be. If he gets a nice clean run out of here, he's home. And let's see if Lowndes tries to make one desperate run. Get up behind the wing of the Shell Falcon. It's 4 in a row. The grandstand's at their feet. Lowndes looks to duck alongside. They're going mad, but Bow has him covered by barely a car length. Fantastic race, the opening heat of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship for 1996. Well, fabulous bit of racing there. John Bow picking up where he left off in 95. Craig Lowndes, great run there in 2nd position. Glenn Seaton in 3rd. Wayne Gardner in 4th. And Peter Brock rounded out the 5. We'll be back with more action from the creek in just a moment.